In this exercise, we have to translate this formula to Prenex form, which means that all the 4 quantifiers, as you can see, the formula contains 4 quantifiers. All the 4 quantifiers must be lifted. That is, they must be moved at the very beginning of the formula. Therefore, of course, we will need to apply the law of quantifier lifting. So immediately we can see that this implication would mean an obstacle. Therefore, we must eliminate it. Of course, we know how to eliminate an implication easily. We must negate the left-hand side of that negation and then use this junction. Okay, now the formula is ready for quantifier lifting, and we can ask ourselves, which of those 4 quantifiers are we supposed to start with? It's not easy to decide. So let's check out the leftmost one. Well, this quantifier is negated, which means it's a little bit problematic. Therefore, let me just postpone dealing with this quantifier. The next quantifier is even more problematic because it's located deeper inside the formula, so we have more things to do with it. And similarly, the third quantifier is also problematic because of the same reasons. Why the very last quantifier seems easy to lift? Actually, we don't need anything else to do than lifting it. Actually, this is what I'm going to do. I will move this quantifier in front, and let me use a huge parenthesis here just to emphasize that now that entire formula between those parentheses is the scope, the new scope for this first quantifier. Okay, now let's work on the remaining 3 quantifiers. Well, let me talk about this guy. This quantifier could easily be lifted in front of the parentheses just before. We don't need anything else, just we can just grab it and move it there. Yes, so something like this. We can do this. Think about it. There is no restriction which prohibits us to do that. And similarly, we can move the axis Z quantifier to the same location there. No problem. We have no problem with that. Okay, great. And now the formula starts to look interesting. Here we can see 3 quantifiers all together, together with this scope. And what we should do in the next step, we should lift all those 3 quantifiers to this location. But the problem is that those 3 quantifiers are preceded by this negation. So we have to do something with the negation before lifting them. Of course, this negation can be dealt with by using the De Morgan laws, which, as you know, move the negation behind the quantifiers, and actually in this case all the quantifiers flip like that. So let me just replace the original part of the formula to this new one like that. Okay, and now what? Well, now we can start to lift those 3 quantifiers one by one. Let's start with the first one for all x, this one. There is a problem with it. Basically, the scope of this quantifier is this guy, or rather together with the negation. And if you remember, the restriction given in the law of lifting quantifiers, what is prohibited is that the variable bound by the quantifier must not appear as a free variable on the right hand side. And actually now it does appear as a free variable, as a parameter for p of x. Therefore, we definitely need to rename the bound variable x to something else. Let me just use v. Of course, I have to rename all the bound occurrences of this variable. And now we can move the quantifier further outside like that. And this is the huge quantifier. Okay, yeah, let's continue. Let's continue with the other two quantifiers, which don't cause any problem because neither y nor z appears as a free variable on the right hand side of this formula. Therefore, we can just grab them and move them to the very beginning of the formula. So basically, this is the result, one of the possible results of prenexing this formula.